Hello everybody and welcome to another Rise of Kingdoms video. This is Dragothian here, and today we've got two new legendary commanders in the game. What is going on? We've got so much craziness happening over the last few weeks, but things loading into the game, new events, new holiday stuff, and now we got two more brand new legendary commanders in the game. And this is one where we've gotten some community feedback that's I think personally has gone into this. And then some other ones that have really kind of been driven by the storyline of the game. So two new cavalry commanders. I'm going to go quickly through each of these. We're not going to break them down too much because honestly, we don't fully know everything about them just yet. We know one of these skills is actually mislabeled already. So I'll clarify some of that for you guys, for those of you that have been watching a couple of the other videos that have come out by some of the other content creators. And then also let's do a little theory crafting and figure out how exactly are we going to use these guys, because they are not your typical cavalry commander. So first one, we've got Attila. That of course is short for Attila the Hun, and looking pretty spicy. I feel like I've seen this graphic somewhere. And sure enough, looking very gold, very spruced up in all of his gear. He's got a whip and and a big, huge, scary sword there. First skill, again, when you talk about a cavalry commander, usually you're looking for a massive nuke, a massive skill damage skill here. And we don't find it. We don't find that. It does have a 1,000 rage requirement, so that's your standard. So nothing special there. We have to pay attention to that now, because we've got commanders like Edward out there that have a lot larger rage requirement for his skill than your norm. So King of the Huns is the skill here, and instead of it saying, nuke damage plus something else, this is strictly a troop damage bonus and attack reduction to the enemy skill. Now again, when you do skills like this affects a target for everything else hitting it. Okay, so something to keep in mind. And I think we'll kind of go into the storyline that we're probably going to go into as we go through these two new commanders, which we're going to talk about on this video. So King of the Huns, for the next 4 seconds, increases normal attack damage and counterattack damage by up to 30%, which is huge. That's very, very large. And normal attacks have a 50% chance to reduce enemy attack by up to 50%. Now, what is attack? What is counterattack? What is enemy attack? Like, what are all those things, right? So whenever you attack an army with your army, every second you're doing an attack. However, every second attack you're doing, or every second you're doing a counterattack. So it goes attack, counterattack, attack, counterattack, attack, counterattack. Same thing with your enemy. Every time your enemy attacks you, it's the same exact thing. When you go into the battle log, that's exactly what you will see. Now, that means that for this particular skill, increases normal attack damage and counterattack damage by up to 30%. That means every single second for 4 seconds, your attack will be boosted by up to 30%. So that damage should be roughly 30% higher, give or take. Or if it's additive and you have, 210% attack, cav attack, you add 30%, then it becomes 240. You might start getting some diminishing returns. We'll do some testing to figure out which one that is for you when we can actually get him. But the second piece, reducing enemies' attack by 20% up to 50%, again, that has to do with your enemy's attack towards you. So if they're infantry, that'll come off of their infantry attack as it pertains to you. If they're a mixed troop army, it'll come off of all the types of troops that they have in that army. That's the idea, okay? So this is really a pretty significant buff, debuff, active skill in replacement of normally a nuke type skill for a cav. So something different right off the bat. That first skill is definitely different. Second skill, Siege of Constantinople when attacking garrisons. So again, when you're sieging something, or when you're rallying something, I should say, increases all damage dealt by up to 10% and has a 10% chance to every turn to reduce the garrison's defense by up to 25% for 3 seconds. That's also pretty solid. That's a very good, and links into the conquering tree here that you see at the top. So cavalry, conquering, and attack, which is basically, if you think about it, it's basically the cavalry version of Alex. if you want to think about it, which again will tie into what we're going to be talking about. So again, a really good damage boost and a defense reduction to the enemy you're attacking. So you're boosting the first skill, the troop damage, pretty significantly, and then you're reducing the enemy's ability to damage you as effectively in the very beginning. And then the second one, you're boosting more damage when you're rallying a city and reducing the defense of the garrison that you're attacking and rallying. So that's a thing. And again, when attacking garrisons, that can be a single target swarm or that can be a rally. Either one would work as long as Attila is in the first or second slot in your army. Third skill, this is the one that's a little bit bugged right now, and I will help address it. So skill damage against troops led by Attila is reduced by 3% up to 15%. So this skill is literally labeled 10 times worse than it should be. So it should be 3 to 15%. So you have a skill damage taken reduction, which is a la Saladin. There's a couple other commanders. It's late. I'm not bringing them to mind, but they're out there. Wu Zaytom is one of them. So skill damage against troops led by Attila is reduced by 3% up to 15%, and the skill damage dealt by his own troops, very important to notice that, is also reduced by 3% up to 15%. That's a significant debuff. If you're going to be using a skill damage commander alongside of Attila, you're going to be nerfing yourself a little bit. So that kind of takes some of the pairings off of the table for the most part. I mean, I can't say that you won't be able to use them, but they won't be as effective. Okay, they won't be as effective pairing up with Attila as they may be with another nuker that boosts the skill damage that they're doing versus nerfing it. So that's one thing. And then also it increases cavalry units' march speed by 3% up to a maximum of 3 and 20. So 3% up to a maximum of 15, and then 20% up to a maximum of 40, which is huge buff. And that's, again, a passive skill. That is not an active skill. It's not a 10% chance to thing. That's all the time. So 15% skill damage taken reduction, 15% march speed bonus, which is huge, and then a 40% attack bonus, which is huge, which also combines with King of the Huns, which is the primary skill that's going to be firing off every 9 to 10 seconds-ish, depending on what your rage regen looks like and who you pair this guy with. If you're going cav, there's some rage regen there. If you're going attack, very minor amount, but still there. So you should be able to get around 10, 11 seconds between skills, which means that this should be up roughly 1/3 of the time. And then finally, the last skill, Battle of the Catalonian Plains. I think I pronounced that right. I did a pretty good job. I can word. So when the army led by Attila contains only cavalry units, normal attacks have a chance to increase his own troops' all damage dealt for the next 2 turns, which is huge. Has a 25% chance to increase all damage dealt by 25% up to 50%, and has a 25% chance to increase all damage dealt by 50% up to 100%. That is massive. And a little scary. You know, I just said, you know, the third skill here where you have the skill damage reduction, the 15%. This says all damage dealt can increase by 100%. Can you imagine paired up with a Genghis and his double nuke proccing off with this on board, 100% double nuke damage? That's insane. That's not the storyline I'm trying to tell with this video, because I think there's a very specific use for this commander alongside of the next one I'm about to go over, but this is pretty much like a thing that I would really want to try. I'd really want to try pairing up Attila with a maxed 4th skill, and then pairing him up with a max Genghis, which we already have here on this channel. So, and seeing if we can get it to proc with this on it, and then maybe having Genghis primary so you can get that skill damage and that skill damage taken reduction and the rage regeneration that the skill tree versus the attack tree provides. would be pretty interesting. Pretty interesting indeed, because it says all damage dealt. That means when he says all damage dealt, that's troop attack, that's troop counterattack, that is skill damage. That's all of it. Okay, so definitely something to take a peek into. This is his best skill. This is his best skill. If you're looking for which skill you want to get to, I mean, this is the one. I mean, they're all pretty good though. The 40% cav attack is also really good. This is all stacking up to be a very powerful troop damage commander with some significant utility with this fourth skill, allowing some pairings that otherwise would not really have been a great pairing. So finally, with his expertise is really good too. Troops led by Attila are immune to silence effects. So no woo. Again, you're rallying. You have the potential to rally stuff with this second skill here, right? The Siege of Constantinople. That means if you're going to be rallying a city or a garrison in general that's got woo in it, you can't be silenced. Same thing with Herman. If you got a Herman garrison somewhere, you're not going to get silenced, or El Cid, I should say. And then against enemy troops with less than 50% strength. So we've seen this with Belisarius, right, where he's got a kind of like a bloodthirsty talent to it. Increases damage dealt by 20%. Again, that seems to be an all damage dealt situation. Also, you're increasing march speed by 50% for 3 seconds after leaving battle. I mean, there's so many buffs going on here with Attila. He is a buffer, debuffer. I mean, he kind of boosts the crap out of Nuke, even though this third skill nerfs it a little bit. But if this skill lines up and you've got him expertise with the extra 20% increase after you've gotten them down to 50%, once you get them down to 50% and then this triggers alongside of this third skill triggering, the fourth skill triggering, and then even the third skill with the 40% cavalry attack, you can pair him up with anybody. I take it back. At this point, you can pair him up with anybody. I am going to make a case for him having a particular role, but he can be used with anybody. Absolutely. No questions asked. Attila has definitely got some quality utility that he can use on the battlefield. And then the second commander that we're about to talk about too has that as well, but not necessarily, to me, quite as much utility as Attila. I think Attila is going to be the stronger one of the two. That being said, let's go into Takeda Shingen. Look at that. So, boss-looking commander, by the way. I mean, we have Minamoto, right, who is looking pretty darn badass with his with his gear on, and then you've got Takeda Shingen with some serious look going on there with the dual samurai swords. You've got the fan as well, and then the 2 war banner flags right behind him. Pretty darn solid. He is also going to be a cavalry commander, like we said, but he went with the mobility tree, which is very similar to your guy Double C, Chow Chow. So also having the versatility talent tree, which is not a big fan of that tree very much. It just doesn't have a whole lot of specialization that you like to see in your legendary commanders. That being said, it is a versatile tree, so it's got a little bit of everything. It's got some gathering, it's got some troop attack stuff, it's got some rage regen stuff, it's got some garrison stuff, it's got conquering, it's got a little bit of everything. So even some peacekeeping in there a little bit. You may be able to find a march speed buff in there somewhere that you might want to use, but otherwise you're going to really want to heavily focus if you want to have Takeda as a primary. You want to have him mainly focusing on the cavalry tree with a little bit of mobility. But really, again, just like Double C, I generally don't recommend having a mobility cav commander primary unless your main goal is to get around as quickly as possible or to farm kill, which I'm not a huge fan of that, but it is part of the game and you have fun with that, okay? Let's go through the skills, because these are also some really interesting skills that we haven't really seen before in the game in this combination. And then also, I'd like to kind of talk about how it would pair them up. Specifically with these 2 new commanders with each other, because I think there's some interesting things to take away from that. So first is fierce as the fire, and again, no nuke. Even again, Double C has a 1701 expertise nuke, and he's a mobility cav commander, so it's a very similar commander, but no nuke here. And again, going back to the other commander, there's a nuke debuff on the third skill. So again, that kind of got me thinking these guys maybe should be linked up very similar, akin to Edward Tamiris, right? So Fierce as the Fire, Takeda Shingen debuffs an enemy single target for 4 seconds. Each time this target receives a normal attack, there's a 50% chance to receive an extra 20 up to 50 normal attack damage. So this skill debuffs a single enemy for 4 seconds. And that's it. Like, it has the Fierce as the Fire trigger on it, or the debuff on it. That's it. There's no additional stuff to it. However, there is an additional 50% chance. So 1 out of 2 normal attacks, you can receive an extra 20 up to 50% normal attack damage. So this effect can also trigger every 2 seconds, meaning you're going to have 2 tries at this every time this fires. All right? So Takeda Shingen debuffs the enemy for 4 seconds. Each time this target receives a normal attack, so again, we talked about this earlier, normal attack, counterattack, normal attack, counterattack. That means every 2 seconds, you're going to have a normal attack. You're going to have 2 times or 2 tries for this 50% proc to trigger, okay? Once that happens, you're going to get an extra 20 to 50% damage on that target. Now, again, it says there's a 50% chance to receive an extra 20% normal attack damage. That's only for your army. That's not for all the armies hitting the commander, okay, or hitting the enemy that you're hitting. This effect can only trigger once every 2 seconds. So again, it's a 4-second duration, and it's triggerable only every 2 seconds. So the reason they have that every 2 seconds is to explain the normal stuff, the normal attack versus the counterattack stuff. So again, what that means, you can theoretically trigger it right off the bat whenever you fire off the skill, trigger it again after 2 seconds, hopefully refreshing it and not just re-triggering. And then again at the 4-second mark, you could re-trigger. So theoretically, you can have 8 seconds out of the 10 seconds of this buff, which is huge. So 50% chance to receive an extra 50% normal attack damage, which, again, normal attack, counterattack. So if you round it out and average it out, it's 25% damage boost on your troop damage, if you want to think about it like that. I hope that math makes sense. That being said, that's 8 out of 10. So not huge, but still really good. And in combination with the rest of his skills, you're going to see why it makes a lot of sense. Second skill is Swift as the Wind. Increases cavalry units attack by up to 40%. Again, another huge attack bonus. Grants normal attacks 10% chance to increase march speed by 30% for 3 seconds. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the, if you're attacking something, increasing the march speed of a troop. But again, I'm going to go into why that actually makes a lot of sense for this commander, and then the combination of this commander with Attila the Hun as well. The attack bonus obviously is huge. You have a 40% attack bonus here. You have a 40% attack bonus with Attila. There's a bonus attack when you're talking about the primary skill for Attila. There's a bonus attack normal attack damage when you're talking about Takeda. It's all stacking up to be a massive, massive troop damage combination. Gentle as the Forest is the third skill. For 4 seconds after using Fierce as the Fire, heals a portion of slightly wounded units, which is pretty sweet, so you get a little bit of a heal every second. When the army led by this commander contains only cav units, increases defense by up to 40%. That is huge. So again, we're talking massive attack damage bonuses, massive debuffs to the enemy targets that you're attacking, massive defensive bonuses to your army as well. And again, for 4 seconds after using Fierce as the Fire, this guy, the first skill, that's why there's no additional stuff on this, by the way, because all the other skills kind of trigger off this. So third skill, heals a portion of slightly wounded units every second. So basically whenever you fire that off, you get 250 healing factor every second for 4 seconds. So for 4 seconds, heals a sort. Yeah, so there's no trigger to it. You just got to have the skill. And whenever the Fierce as the Fire skill casts, this triggers, and you get basically 1,000 heal every single time. So again, that's not quite Richard material, but it's pretty close, and it's a heal over time. So it's not quite as it's more efficient in my opinion, but it might not be as bursty as you might need. So there's a little bit of a trade-off here. Being a heal over time, it's more efficient because if you're topped off and this fires off, you'll get hit once and then you'll heal for a smaller amount. Hit once, heal for a smaller amount. Whereas if you get hit at the very beginning with a Richard and then you do a massive heal, you may overheal and you don't get to get those overhealed troops back. It's a waste of a heal. That's what I mean by efficiency. When the army led by this commander contains only cav units, increases defense by 40%. That's huge. 40% is huge. Huge defense. And then again, there's tons of other commanders like the one we just talked about. And there's some other ones that are out there that are very tanky, like a Pelagius. Even pairing up with Sun Tzu as a secondary if you wanted to do an epic route. Double C is not really the play, even though he does have a nuke and he does have a heal. He has a defense reduction, but that may be worth it for what you're getting. Double healing cav units? That's pretty cool. Another thought, right? Let's go to the fourth skill. Immovable as the mountain. Another passive skill. Skill damage against troops led by Takeda Shingen is reduced by up to 5%. So another skill damage taken reduction on top of the other one that we were talking about with Attila. When taking damage, there's a 10% chance to reduce normal attack damage taken and counterattack damage taken by 5% up to 25% for 3 seconds. Wow. So again, there's just so much troop damage, anti-troop damage, troop anti-damage, troop debuffs. I mean, there's so much. And again, just getting to the final one here just so we can get through the skills. New skill, I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Well, I will try because I'm going to. Koshuryu Gungaku. There we go. Deal an additional or an extra 30% normal attack damage to enemies who have been debuffed by Fierce as Fire. Again, going back to that first skill, an additional 30% normal attack damage. That is all the time. That is not a trigger. As long as your Fierce as Fire is on, which can, like we said, be for a total of 8 seconds, right? Takeda Shingen debuffs an enemy single target for 4 seconds. Each time this target receives a normal attack, there's a 50% chance to receive an extra 20 normal attack damage. This effect can trigger once every 2 seconds. Okay, so let me take that back. We need some clarifying information here, I think. So is the debuff, is the actual Fierce as the Fire debuff trigger extended, or is it only for 4 seconds? And then the effect of the normal attack damage can be extended past that 4 seconds. I need to figure that out for you guys. Either way, 4 to 6 to 8 seconds possibly, depending on how the wording is actually supposed to be here. This could be another, again, almost always on passive skill for an additional 30% normal attack damage, which again, if you talk about just averaging out your troop damage, is about a 15% troop damage bonus. All this stuff stacks up. So what does this mean to me? Okay, so what's my analysis on it? At the end of the day, and this video got really long very quickly, at the end of the day, I think that there's a couple ways to use these guys. We did dive a little bit into them, with Attila being kind of a hybrid with having some very significant buffs and debuffs. And then this third skill, while making it look like you really don't want to pair him up with a skill damage commander, once you get to the fourth and the fifth skill, these are basically like having this, his expertise is like having a Sun Tzu in your army with the 20% damage dealt after you've gotten an enemy down below 50% troops, okay? And then this one here, this is basically like having a boosted, amped up eulogy in your army, but instead of it just being for troop attack, it's for all damage. That's huge. That is huge. Have you seen the numbers that go out? And again, it has to be a cavalry-only unit. My other thought was obviously YSG, which you can do. You can have YSG second to Attila, but you would have to then use cavalry and attack, which aren't the worst things in the world, but I love the skill damage tree a lot more than I do the attack tree. So Attila paired up with Genghis makes a lot of sense. I think at the end of the day, though, these two are meant to work together. And the reason I say that, this is, I think, going to be the combination for those of you that are cav-based folks that want to really focus on cav, but want to have the utility and the survivability of infantry. If you pair these two up, the sheer amount of troop damage that you're going to be putting out is nuts. You're going to lose some of the wow factor of the nuke damage that could possibly take place with Attila's force skill here. But you're going to gain so much sustainability from not only all the troop attack, the counterattack, the defense bonuses that you're going to have for your own army, all the debuffs that you're going to be causing on your enemy. Not only that, all the other troops that you're going to be using in your 5-army setup or 4-army or however many armies you have at this point in the game that you're playing. All those things are going to come together to really make you super tanky with all the defense, and then also all the damage you're going to be putting out, just raw troop damage that you're going to be putting out is going to be significant, really significant. But then you're also speedy. Like, you're super fast, you're cav, right? I kind of look at these guys like the new shock troops. Like, infantry right now, like I've got a 5 infantry march, right? I take that army onto the battlefield. It's super tanky, and it stays alive for a long time, and it debuffs, it buffs, it does all the things that I want it to do to help my alliance and my kingdom be successful. But it takes forever to get them there, and then once they're there, they're pretty much there. Like, they're not going anywhere. I'm not gonna bring them back to my city, especially if they're over 10k away. Like, I'm just not gonna do that. It just doesn't make sense to do that. With these guys, you could actually do that. You could strategically place super tanky cav units, and they're also debuffers. Like, there's a lot of potential with these two commanders is really what I'm getting at. And I think that the way that I see it, at least, this to me screams cav, like tanky cav shock troops. Like, you're going to cause a ton of damage, you're going to be super tanky, and you're going to be super maneuverable. Because when you disengage, right, from battle, which one is it? Was it the first one? I can't remember. Okay, so you have a 10% chance to increase march speed by 30% for 3 seconds when you're attacking. That's why I said I usually hate that skill. But for this use case, this works really well. And then from Attila, you've got another chance. Yep, increases march speed by 50% after leaving battle. That basically means if you can get away from the thing that you're attacking for 3 seconds, you're going to have a 50% march speed bonus. So as soon as your portrait goes away from attacking something, you're out of battle, poof, you're gone. 50% here, 50% here. Where's that? Yeah, 50 or 30% here. They're already cavalry units. If you wanted to go Takeda primary and go with a little bit of mobility tree stuff too, you're even faster. I mean, I really think that the pairing here is pretty evident that you want to have these two paired up together to use them in that fashion. But I am very intrigued to see Attila paired with Genghis. I think that would be amazing. And I think that if these things all go off the way that they're supposed to, you could have Genghis primary using the cav and the skill tree with the march speed off of all those talents that are coming together, plus all these debuffs and troop attack damages and the defense that you're going to be getting from some of these things. And then if this stuff all lines up with Attila's nuke, not only just single going off, but double going off, that would be something to see. So I'm interested to see how these things play out. Of course, it's 2 new legendary commanders, guys. I know we're looking for some more epics. I don't know. I mean, they're coming. I hope they're coming. I've heard they're coming. We're going to see what happens in the coming months and months and months. And again, this is a game that's staying around for a while. So there's a couple more legendary commanders that we're doing now. There's probably going to be some more legendary commanders coming down the pipe here shortly. And then hopefully we're going to get some epics too, because I've got so many epic commanders in the box, or epic commander sculptures in the box ready to go to fire into whatever new epics come out into the game. I'm ready for those too. But these two are looking really good. It's another niche way to play the game. And again, I think that's what is really key here. We don't have just one way to play. There's so many ways to play. You can pick and choose what you want to do. You don't have to just go cookie cutter, cookie cutter, cookie cutter. These are the custom craftsman style homes instead of the cookie cutter 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath houses that you see stacked on top of each other. Hopefully that makes sense. It's late, so I'm starting to come up with some stuff. But and again, video got really long. I do apologize. That being said, hope you guys enjoy these new commanders. I think that, again, I really enjoy what they could possibly be all about. It's going to take a little while to get them. I don't know how we can get them just yet. I'd imagine, just like the other ones, there's probably going to be a Mightiest Governor and a Wheel one. That's my guess. Maybe there's a gold key one in here somewhere. Maybe you can get it through an event in the game or something like that. Who knows? But that's the way they usually do these things, so that's kind of what we have to look forward to. I think I want to go ahead and end it here. I think that was a good 30 minutes of just breaking these two things down, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see y'all next time. Cheers, have a good one, and take care.